was living a lie. In the darkness, I was scared of the light. With no direction, I was running away. Step aside, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome, everybody. So what we're doing here is modeling what happens in a restorative circle mediation. And the way the circle works is you come as you are, and they'll just walk in, sit down. We'll just keep going. You're all fending for yourself. It's a consent process that you're all here. So in our office, and we demonstrated last week, we'll just get phone calls. And they'll just start talking. And within a couple of seconds, they will, if they get me, they'll say things like, "So can you get my kids back?" Or, "Well, I need to change child support." Or, "Can you get me out of jail?" Okay. And so I'm triggered by that. I almost feel like hanging up and going, if that's what you want out of this, a miracle worker, if you want one person to take on your personal case and win, so to speak, I said this, I could take on your case, your court case, and I could work on it for weeks. It could be the only case I have, and things will change very, 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 very little. So we've changed all that. I don't say that anymore. I don't feel that way anymore. I know that whatever we say, whatever we do is going to impact that person in that very moment. And if I tell them, I can't get you your kids back, I can't get you your money back, I can't get you your house back, they will be completely defeated. I've never said that, but I've thought it. And the important thing about what you're going to be doing, everybody here in this room, because we need help, is you're going to be listening. So, again, in my office, it's like this, it's like people are coming in and we're in and out and we're making coffee. And then we bring the couple with the facilitators into a room and we sit in circle. And of course, if you've never been in circle, and I didn't even know what a circle was until I went and studied with one of the world's foremost peacemakers, Dominic Barter. I didn't know what a circle was. I was involved in the law and the legalese. So then we sit in circle, and I'm going to ask Lori, since she pretty much invented it, to do what we call the be still moment. So everybody kind of sits in an office. They're in contention, basically. They have some kind of a conflict going on. We're welcoming them. They're typically not really talking to each other, especially the first time, because they're just like, what are these people doing? And then we all sit together in circle like we're doing now. And let's just imagine that this is our circle of conflict, so to speak. We've had circles this big. Okay, because when you have families, some families are pretty darn big, and when you have crimes, they impact a lot of people. So I'm going to have Lori this week demonstrate what happens. So you're my clients, you're in the circle.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you're all here today. I would like us all just to take few minutes, really. However, I'm just going to just trust right now in God, that God is going to lead me right now in this be still moment for however long it takes. I don't want to rush this. It's very important that we just reflect, just honestly, just to hear his voice, because he truly is speaking to all of us. We just have to be still and know that he is here. He's speaking to us today. He will speak different things to each of us today. So if you could close your eyes, you could find something in the room to stare at, whatever it is, however you're led right now, what is it that he's telling you to do that you can just stop and listen to his voice? He loves you. God loves us all. We are here. We are here for divine purpose and a divine reason. Let's stop and be still and know that he is here with us, and he has something to speak to each and every one of us, speak into our hearts, speak into our lives, something to be taught today. Thank you, Heavenly Father. We know you are with us. And we're hearing your still, small voice. Since I have the microphone, I'd like to just share what's on my heart right now and what I'd like to share with all of you today. I am, to be honest with all of you, I'm feeling a little down. I am tired. I'm feeling tired today. My son had surgery just yesterday. He had his gallbladder removed, and it just was a change in my week that I wasn't expecting. And last couple days we were in the hospital, and I'm first of all feeling very tired today. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I'm just tired, and I'm feeling a little down. Everything was amazing, and my son was absolutely amazing. He was so strong and so funny. I just wanted to share that with you. Just a couple days here, it was just a change in my week, but it was absolutely beautiful and amazing in the midst of a trial and tribulation in our life, and there was so much peace and joy. But there's no place I'd rather be right now is with all of you, because I know that being here with all of you today is just going to lift my spirits, connect with all of you, get to know each of you a little bit more. So I am so glad to be here with all of you, and thank you all for being here, because I need all of you. I need all of you. Being alone wouldn't be good for me today. So thank you.
So that's called reality, okay? So what Lori did was unexpected. When we do these be still moments, I was taught to make it more secular and have it be uncomfortable for me. That moment was very uncomfortable for me. It was too long, right? I wanted to grab the microphone from her and say, can we just move on? But what they say is to help everybody to be present in the circle. And we do this in circle practices too. And then you say, what's coming up for you? And you go around the room and what's coming up for you. And that is what was coming up for Lori. So I'm going to tell you what was coming up for me during that moment without having heard her. Or we can start again. And I'm going to pass around the microphone, and then whatever is coming up for you about today, about last time we met, whatever is real for you, we want to hear about it. And we don't want to cut people short. Circle is a consent process. Being subpoenaed to court is not a consent process. Okay. You can't subpoena somebody to a circle. And that's the beauty of it and the detriment of it. So we always hustle and bustle. We're just going to do this again. So we start with our be still moment. And whenever anybody's ready, I'll hand them the microphone. The microphone is the talking piece, by the way. You do have a talking piece in circle. Whoever has the microphone or whoever has the stress ball that we use in our office.
Good morning. I appreciated Lori's authenticity because last night I like to listen to scripture at night if I can, and it wasn't making sense. Usually I wake up and I go, this is so great, and it was just like something you don't want to listen to. It's not making sense. And I thought, why is that? And so I was just kind of going into peace here and asking the Lord, and he explained why in something behind the scenes. And so I just, thanked him, and I'm really in expectation for what's going on. I felt like this is an opportunity. It's going to be good. I'm thankful for Tom and Michelle and Lori and all the people presenting. And so I think it's a gift. So I came into high expectation from being a little, dead, flatlined. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawn. And just, all that came up was just rest. Just rest.
Hi, everyone. I'm Louisa. I'm a little off kilter today, to be honest with you. So one of the things that if anyone's an animal lover, I have a 15-year-old dachshund and he fell down 15 stairs yesterday. Well, actually he didn't fall, he rolled. But this is the second time in like a few months that the first time I tripped him yesterday, my other dog, I think, tripped him. So I'm kind of thinking about him. And also, and just like your son, he kind of got up and got moving again. But he hurts. He's bruised. He has to be bruised. I put him on heating pad all night. He loved that. He was in bed with me. And then he peed on my bed. So that was my morning, or early morning, right? And coming back into circle. And it's really interesting, this process, because while I live my life in this process and have trained in it and sat in it, I also have this other life because I have to make money. And so most of my work is in the traditional mediation or through the traditional mediation lens, but I get to bring some of this into that, but it's never the same. So there's almost like what's the struggle for me is the split. People must be familiar with the split, right? So it could be the split of a good side and a dark side, or light side and a dark side. It could be, how we live our lives in our public life and our personal life, how we live our life professionally. If you go to my website, there's all this traditional mediation stuff, and then there's this whole realm of transformation around forgiveness and the coaching I do. And so I'm struggling, and I think I'm experiencing that. I had a really tough time last week for those of you who are here and have struggled throughout the week and trying to figure out where I fit in this. So I'm going to go with the flow, but you have to know it's a struggle for me to try and weave in and just be as much a participant as all of us, and also cope with my kind of distractions that I have. So I think that's what's coming up for me. A lot of words, but I thought it was important to share that, just like you were sharing that, right? And thank you for sharing, Lori. because it actually gave you the courage to share, right? So I have my friend next to me, right, Carrie?
Okay, I'm Carrie. I appreciate that we start this meeting in prayer. Like it's good. I like that you were like open with us and that kind of thing. I had a bad morning, but I don't really want to share it. So I don't know. I'm glad this group is here. So that's all I have to say.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee. I drove an hour and a half, so I listened to all kinds of different podcasts, and I'm feeling very optimistic, hopefully, that Monday is going to bring something big, good for our country. And I just want to absorb everything today, and I love being a part of this, so thank you.
I feel like I'm on Saturday Night Live, and you guys are Stuart Smalley. Denial ain't just a river in Egypt or something. I'm a little freaked out by this. It's a little retarded from my perspective. I'm like, is this a bunch of weirdos from Eastern mysticism or something? I'm not really that comfortable with it.
My name is Jody. And Donna, I was getting the same word, rest. But I know it's resting in Him, in Christ. I also have had a pretty challenging week. Yesterday was very challenging, something with one of my twin daughters. And so I haven't gotten a whole lot of sleep this week either. Been awake a lot of hours. But I came here, like what you said, Lori, I look forward to coming and seeing all of you again, and to learning something new and not just staying in the same old, going to work, coming home, making meals, cleaning house, whatever. And so it brings me joy to see all of you here today, and being open with our struggles that we maybe are having at home or whatever. But just know that you can trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And in all of your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight.
Hi, I'm Gail. I am feeling a bit anxious today because I have a lot of things to do. and all those things are running through my head. But at the same time, I'm excited to be here and learn what we have to learn today. So thank you.
I'm Paul. When I heard Lori speak, I had a upwelling of feeling her pain, and I am grateful for that because I have been an attorney for a while, and while I was still in practice, I did civil litigation and I did bankruptcy. And in civil litigation, I went to court and I fought for people, and at the end of the day, nobody was happy. Maybe me, because I'd like to fight. And on the other side, I would do bankruptcy, which I would walk people through a process that made their lives better at the end. And to apply a process that makes people's lives better in what was a fight, that makes sense to me. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm grateful that I can feel other people's pain and get some compassion, because dealing with that is an important part of dealing with people in a family law or other legal practice. Is how do you handle that? So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Karen. Still unemployed. So what came up for me was, what do I want to do with my life? Is this something that I can do full time? Is this something that I I do have an interview on Monday. It's for a position that's 45 minutes from my home and probably pays really good. But I question whether or not I can do that job. So, but yet I don't want to take it because it's just a new job. So I'm asking for some clarity, and to not just follow my brain, but follow my heart. And I'm also glad for a gift that I have of healing others and giving each other energy. I'm really good at energy because I have a ton of it. So if you need some, here you go. Okay? All right. I got chills. Did you get chills? Anytime I get chills, I know I've done the right thing. So anyway, that's what's coming up for me. And just this opportunity is a wonderful opportunity that I'm really glad I'm here and learning, because I think I'm on the right path.
I'm Jessica, and the word I got actually was content, and it means in a state of peaceful happiness. So I'm just glad to be here. Super excited to hear and learn more today, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I'm thankful to be here with all of you today. I was touched by Lori and what she had to say, and also Louisa, and I just prayed strength and peace for you guys. I've been a conservator for a while for a woman who has a mental illness, and her husband has been abusive as well. And we just went to court on Tuesday of this week, and I had to testify on her behalf. And so that stage is over. I asked for favor with the judge. We were asking certain things in order to divide their estate. And I'm wondering if I continue on being her conservator or if I pass that on to somebody else, because I have a really busy life. And I feel like having that trial over is a good thing for her, because she can move on and move forward. I've set everything up for her for doctor and medical care and insurance and all those things, finances. So I feel like, is it time for me to move on and assign somebody else to that, or do I stay with her for a while? So that's been really on my heart, is to make the right decision in that. And I asked Jessica to pray for that this morning so we would know what to do here. So anyhow, that's been my dilemma.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom. And what I'm really hearing, a lot of people, most everybody has in our lives, we're all very busy. And Rich, one of the things I really came strongly...
You better get to the point quickly this morning or I'm out of here.
Right. And that's...
I mean it.
Yeah. And that's the point where I'm going. In this, it's a slower process, and that's what I was really actually just saying, what was coming to me, and I really heard it from you, is patience. This is a slower process where we really have to pass our judgment. I mean... That's okay. And again, Rich, this is a consent process, so yeah, you're willing to do... We thank you for coming.
Yeah, we can sit around the room and maybe we can chant or something like that.
Well, thank you. You haven't learned any of the process yet, but you're welcome to do what you want. That's fine. And so again, that's what's really coming through, is the patience that we take, and this is a slower process because it is a consent process. So what we have to do is just take a step back always and let the people come to because this is their lives that they're coming to. We're helping them touch and move forward and heal them. This is their process. It's not our lives. We allow this process to come forward. So it can seem painful, but we get there, and it's beautiful. The people that come through it love it. So thank you.
So what's coming up for me is that when I trained with Dominic, I went out there, for a whole week. Dominic Barter, there were judges from all over the country. There were judges there, mediators, lawyers, lay people from all walks of life, even India, all over the country. And at the end, towards the end, it was the lawyers, and Rich is a lawyer, that just, what is going on here? We don't have any materials. Now, that's another thing. I went to a course and had no materials. None. I'm giving you giant books on this stuff. They created the materials, which we're doing here, while I was in the course. So I had been to some courses where I had no materials, but I was even frustrated. What am I learning? What is this? But I was in New York. I couldn't just walk out. So what's coming up for me is that I have to accept that, Rich is she's been impacted today. He already had all the answers on how we're going to end family court. He told me that. I don't know if anybody heard me, but he's already there. And I said to him, yeah, we have some legislation that's doing what you're saying. It's been in the courts for years. Cooperative private divorce. We learned about it last week. So he already knows, hey, family courts. So he's ahead of it. We're just trying, so he gets it. And he's Christian too. So he's from a Christian group that I'm in. So I don't know why he thought this was strange. You are going to get that reaction. That is why when new people come in, we don't do the prayer thing. Because we're not imposing a prayer on them. Their quiet moment might be something different. We do have the quiet moment all the time, but we don't start praying. It's their quiet moment, not ours, right? So what's coming up for me has to be about my day. If they want to pray, and this has happened, if they want to talk about God, they talk about God, but the facilitators don't do that. Okay, Lori did it because we're in a different circle. We're in a teaching circle, okay? And so that has to happen in the teaching circle, right? So I can teach you what people do. They come into this and they'll just leave. They will just leave. But we have our way of doing it. We care for them in that way. Do you see what I'm saying? And everybody's quiet moment isn't prayer. It's just, I don't pray when I'm in that quiet moment. In fact, I feel very uncomfortable, and I was told, do it until you're uncomfortable, which is only about 2 seconds. I don't like that quiet moment. So people do leave too. We do orientations and we've had people get up and walk out. So don't expect, that's the beauty of the circle, the consent process. It's the detriment too. It's the beauty and the detriment. We can't make them stay there like a court. But when we keep going with the consent process, we keep going with it, and they realize, wow, this is a consent process. Because if we had said, hey, Rich, you're not going to get your credits if you don't stay here, because he wants to be accredited in this. I've talked with him greatly, but he came a long way. And that, you better stay here. That's what we'd normally do as mediators, right? In court, we'd probably say, look, the judge is right here, and if you don't do this mediation. Do you want to say something, Louisa?
I just was going to share something with you. And that, I think I can't speak for all of you, but I was extremely uncomfortable. First of all, when there were words used to describe people as retards, it's my first career. But also something I want to share with you that I don't know if all of you know is that I'm Jewish. And some of these folks know me well, and I've had some challenging conversations sometimes about my discomfort fitting in with this with Christian prayer, and yet I get it, because you know what? No one is imposing that on me. It's your prayer, right? And I'm willing to sit and experience that and learn from that, because we're all individuals. And that was a person who is human, and we're all human. And we all have our limitations. Mainly, we have more capacity, and I always seek capacity. But I wanted to share that even while I sit in discomfort a lot, it's really okay, and I don't want any of you to change who you are in this room in terms of what you want to share, because that's coming from you, right? So I thought it was important to say that. That's it.
First of all, you go, girl. Okay? I read a book once where God was sitting on top of a big, high mountain, and there were Muslims and Jews and Christians and Hebrew, or, all sorts of different religions. And everybody went off on their own religion. But in the very end, there's one God, whatever you call him, there is one, and we all worship him in our own way, as you say it said. And it's just, there's one. There's no, we are different from each other in any respect.
Okay. So, we're back in circle now in the room with clients. And we do the be still moment, and then we give them, usually kind of give them, and it's in your materials, we give them say, here's a talking piece. Sometimes it's just introduced, it's introduced pretty early that there's a talking piece. And everybody will have an equal way to talk. And we just kind of hand them the 4 rules, the guidelines to talking piece that you have in your materials. They're just there. We don't say, here are the guidelines, da-da-da-da-da. We just do it. But they're there. And then we do what's called a listening exercise with them. And we're going to do the listening exercise today again. And so we're going to break out in 2s. Try to get a partner that you didn't have the last time. We're going to time you. And you're going to talk about a conflict. It could be with, but it can't be with anybody in the room. And we're going to time you, and one person's going to be the speaker and one person's going to be the receiver. Then you're going to switch. And remember that you're going to listen, and you're not going to offer any advice. You're not going to bottom line it. You're not going to say, oh, that happened to me once. You're not going to interrogate, ask questions. And you have the blocks to listening in your book. Those are the 4 blocks. I've done many, many listening exercises. This is the best one. So I'm giving you the best one. The only one that you need to know. You'll learn more and develop your own ways of doing this. Because remember, I'm giving you a recipe, but you're going to just add to it, subtract from it. You're going to be amazing, amazing facilitators. So let's split up. Pick a partner. If you don't have a partner, one of the faculty will be your partner. And it's with a conflict, maybe a family conflict with somebody that's not in the room. Okay, time's up. Some people were advising. Oh, that happened to me once. Or they were bottom lining. Oh, don't worry about that. I can help you. Or interrogating. Somebody asked me, I'll be talking. What color was the pants he was wearing? And it was like, I'm trying to say something. It throws you off. And rehearsing to what am I going to say to help this person in your head? So those are the 4 roadblocks to listening. Roadblocks. You're not listening. If you're thinking about what you're going to say, if you're, jump in with oh, that happened to me once. I'm going to advise you, bottom lining. But that's exactly what attorneys do. That's exactly what psychologists do. That's exactly what mediators do. They want to advise you on what to do with your legal problem, right? Or your relationship problem. And they're not listening. So now I'm going to ask you how it felt, and I do this with the couples. How does it feel to be listened to like that without being interrupted? Anybody?
I actually have a bit of a hard time just talking about myself for 2 minutes. I'm like, am I done yet? Is that enough? Did I say enough? Just because I think because I'm not used to being listened to like that. I'm used to somebody interrupting or somebody saying, giving their perspective, or it being more conversational than just somebody listening to me.
Anybody else about the listening or the speaking part? How it felt? I'm going to just pick Paul, but it's a consent process. Do you consent to speak?
Absolutely. I find the listening part to be difficult. For me, it's like meditation. As soon as you try and calm your mind down, things pop up. And to take that back and go back to focusing on the other person is hard. It takes practice. And when the buzzer goes off, I went from listening to, okay, I cannot listen for a second. Whew. So that was my experience.
What about the talking part?
I get paid to talk, so that's kind of easy for me.
I'm Brian, and I listened to Louisa, and I wanted to affirm her because she was sharing something that we had needed deep empathy and emotions, and I was into it. And I wanted to say that was really difficult, and you just had to look, and maybe asking Louisa, did she feel like I was affirming her with my eyes and talking?
I wouldn't mind being in therapy with him. He's pretty good. Very, very, Michelle might have, had she really been assessing what we were doing, might have suggested that you were almost too affirming, but you didn't speak. It was just it was leaning into that conversation, which actually is a really good thing. We can tell someone's listening when one's body language leans in. But I don't know. I think that you concur that there was that desire to say something, but he didn't. But you could tell it was like coming out of his eyes, right? Yeah.
Sorry. But I was going to say almost the same thing. Because I've gone through the training in this, I've already had you will get past that, I can promise. It will be less painful to not say anything. It does take some doing, but I found it interesting, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I almost felt like Carrie was waiting for me to jump in, so I'm trying to be encouraging, not leaning too much into her. And so sometimes when the person who's talking is maybe even waiting for an interruption, because that is less, because talking is sometimes not comfortable, it's difficult to just stop and breathe, so I was kind of doing the same thing, intentionally not talking, and trying to help her keep talking. Not easy, but you will get there.
I think maybe what I'm thinking about is when you're listening, we have a son and daughter-in-law who seem to be very bright, and they're always engaged with you. And if you're engaged with somebody, even if you're listening, they know it, because they're always in response, and it's appropriate, and they're fun. And I think if you're engaged and not drifting off, people realize that. And so it's probably not so much talking, but they can tell when you're engaged by your facial responses in your eyes.
Hi, I'm Tom, and again, what comes to me is listening is a lot easier for me. I hear and really want to hear, because it's like, okay, we're looking for signs to help in communication, to help them so that they really, again, to look at them and acknowledge, so you're hearing what they're saying, and people do want it. Now, when I speak, a lot of times it's hard to talk to two men. For me, it's very difficult, and I don't want to be just speak. I want to be interactive. I don't want them not to say anything. It's like I want feedback as we go. So for me to speak uninterrupted is very difficult. But to me, it's the hardest part I have.
Especially at home. Because I interrupt them all the time. I do. Yeah, I try to practice this at home. What do I do? Do as I say, not as I do, basically. So what's happening, though, you're facilitating what you have to get. It's coming to me is you're facilitating their communication. You don't have to interact, give them advice, bottom line it, like, why don't you just do it this way, or rehearse what you're going to say next. What am I going to say next? Oh, they're talking. What am I going to say next? But when you're a lawyer, you're doing it. Psychologists, you're doing it. Mediators are doing it because they have court saying, we want to get this settled, right? And they only have so much time to do it. We're going to do a demonstration of a typical mediation. It's a faculty demonstration. And then we're going to do a demonstration of a family innocence, restorative circle mediation, okay? So you'll get to see the difference. And so what's coming to me is, it is, to me, like Tom co-facilitates with me, and we prefer to co-facilitators. If it's a couple, we'd like a man and a woman, and then we have a family innocence advocate. So all of you can play that role, one of those roles. I've been the advocate. I've been the lawyer. There's also a lawyer role in the end of it, because when they get an agreement, and I've trained the lawyers on this, we do only the orders that they need. So pretty much if the house has already been sold, the proceeds divided, we don't need an order about the house. So we're doing things holistically, and actually in the end they might just need an order to terminate their marriage, one order. If they have kids, they might just need one order about joint legal, joint physical, or how they're going to do the parenting time. The child support orders, to try to fit them into what the law wants is crazy, actually, because people do child support differently, and they're all kind of getting the hang that, we need to start to support each other monetarily, not go with what the state is ordering. And we're going to demonstrate that in our role play coming up. Okay, good.
I just have a real quick question. What can you define advocate? I'm into definitions.
Into definitions. It's hard. It's hard. We advocate for the whole family. I guess that's how I see it. We're not, the advocate for. We just advocate for everybody in the room. We're what in circle. You're as a facilitator. You're multi-partial, right? But that means that you're not neutral. Neutral is not real. I think the lawyers are going, neutral can't. How can you be neutral? That's just sitting there like a bump on the log, not even being interested. Where multi-partial is you're trying to help everybody in the room. So definition of advocate, I mean, I think what it's evolved into is somebody just saying, family innocence, you got to go there. We have this great advocate who came. Her name's Christine. I call her a family innocence advocate because she came to me as a lawyer and in the initial consultation, and I said, go to family innocence. I do that all the time. Like, instead of taking a $5,000, $10,000 fee, I say, go to family innocence. And ultimately, she went to a lawyer, and she had only been in the process a couple of weeks. She spent $15,000. She came back, and I was sitting in my office, and Tom was in the office too. She just walked in the door to get some brochures for Family Innocence because she had 5 friends that were going through a divorce, and I could hear her. And I looked at her, and I go, because I meet with tons of people, so I look at her, I go, you look familiar. And she said, oh, yeah. She goes, I met with you a long time ago. And she goes, I've already spent like $15,000. And I looked at where she was in the process. She hadn't even done the FE&E yet. The FE&E, and Louisa will tell you that. The FE&E, once you do that, everything's supposed to stop. But this attorney that she has, discovery and all this stuff was happening. And ultimately what she did was tell her friends. And then one of them's 2 hours away, comes to us. And then some people we handled on the phone. So I'm just saying that, there is a better way. And I think I talked about it last time, the crossroads I had when I had Benedictus Ambuna come into my storefront office with no money, and with a horrible order that I thought would be taken care of because it was so unjust. No service of papers, his son was gone. And it ended up being more involved, such that it taught me, that was my crossroads. $1 million a year attorney, help a poor soul to get to that's been wronged. It wasn't helping him get his son back at that point, because I thought that was going to be simple because the civil rights violation was so egregious. And he taught me a lot, and he is, that's how this got birthed, by one client, basically, when I tried to help him. And we ultimately did get the judge to reverse his order, say he had no jurisdiction. Basically, he said, oopsie, but the damage had been done. And then the other attorney decided to serve papers properly this time, and he was back to square one. I went all the way to the Supreme Court on that one. And then, guess what, everybody? Benedictus went out to Dominic Barter and studied with me, and his case settled in a circle, like dismissed to what I call family innocence. No court over his sons, the great aunt's lives. So then I said, wow, this circle thing can work. That was one circle, and it was somebody that had just learned circles 10 weeks before. And I was studying under, somebody that had been doing it for 10 years. So I was just like, and then of course, he invented it. So that's what can happen. And in that case, I guess I was the advocate. I wasn't in the circle, but I was his advocate, but I was also his attorney. And so like I said before, so here's the box. I was in the box. And then I was outside the box. The box was over here. And then, no boxes. No boxes. And what does that mean? It means freedom, really, because I don't have to be the attorney. I can be like Lori just this morning. She was the mother. She was the sad person. She was the excited person. There are no blacks and whites. And sometimes you don't have the words. It's like a little kid that's trying to talk, and he doesn't have the words, and he starts crying and crying, and he's trying to tell you something. So the parents are like, I can't figure out what he's trying to say. So all he needs to be is you hear him cry, and then you figure out what it's saying. So I'm going to show a video.
If crime hurts, then justice should heal. That's Fania Davis. It makes sense, right? Unfortunately, that's not what we're doing. In the U.S., there are 2.2 million people behind bars and nearly 5 million on probation and parole in a system of mass incarceration laden with racial injustices that disproportionately affect minority communities. 1 out of every 14 children has a parent in prison, destroying the health, stability, and resources of entire communities. This is the retributive justice system, and it operates on the theory that punishing people for crime makes them stop. It's hugely expensive, destructive to the human spirit, and worst of all, it doesn't work. Psychiatrist James Gilligan even calls it the most powerful stimulant of violence that we've yet discovered. People are looking for another system. Fortunately, there is one. It's called restorative justice. It focuses less on punishing the crime and more on holding people accountable in order to heal the harm. Restorative justice is based on who we really are. We're designed to live in community, to be of service to one another, and to nurture and repair our relationships. Where the retributive system asks, who did it, what rule was broken, and how do we punish them? Restorative justice asks, what is the harm? Who has been harmed? How do we repair it? Here's how it works. All the stakeholders get a chance to be heard in a facilitated process that balances the needs of victims, offenders, and the community. The person harmed explains how he or she was hurt. This itself is healing as it meets the need for acknowledgement, validation, and repair. The person who did the harm is held accountable in a new way. They're also given the opportunity to accept responsibility for their actions, which is also healing, share their perspectives, and to make amends for the harm they caused in the relationships that were broken. The whole community has a chance to address the underlying problems that gave rise to the situation, and then everyone works together to find a way to restore balance and offer healing to all stakeholders. In restorative and community justice, the concept of beloved community and living in right relationship is key. You're restoring justice and just relationships within the whole community. Does it work? Well, look at this. In the prison system, wherever restorative justice is tried, recidivism has plummeted. In schools, switching to restorative justice drops suspension, improving students' educational and social well-being while reducing bullying and other manifestations of violence. And it costs next to nothing by comparison. One teacher said, "Every time I used the retributive system, I lost a relationship. Every time I use this new system, I gain one." Restorative justice is justice that works, justice that transforms, justice that heals. Now that sounds like something we all want more of in our communities, so spread the word in yours.
Our job is to not have a job, right? And I'm watching this video, and I've watched it a few times, but the community that we are doing this in is the family community, your very first community. Restorative justice isn't in the family community. It isn't there. So what we're doing is imparting what we're going to learn so that they can do this dialogue process that you're going to learn in their own homes and hear each other. See? If we can get it in there, your first community when you come home from the hospital, then we have it in the schools and we have it in the prisons, not all of them. And Dawn's probably going to speak to what's happened at school. She said they start a circle in the morning with her classes. So anyway, the cost, and then you go, it's just what it ends up being. See, so it's hard to say exactly what the cost is.
Considering that if they're paying legal fees, they're, and in one way, the family is almost in charge of the cost there. When they're dealing with attorneys, you've got two people, two attorneys, legal fees that they may feel they have no control over. And so one thing I see with this is that it puts the participants more in control of what it's costing them, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. So you talk about the cost of divorce, and we're just talking lawyers. What about, it's more than that, the stress, right? And Brian's going to talk about that, how almost every ailment we have is from stress. And it's from not being heard. What I learned is, Dominic said, everything's about not being heard. People kill people because they're not heard. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. There is evil. That's not about not being heard. He said, no. He said, when you're there with the gun, and Lori's looking at me, and I have a gun, I'm finally being heard as I pull that trigger. Because she's looking, going, oh my God, this is how important this was to Michelle. That I'm dead now, or I'm about to be dead. So yes, and that's what we save people into is the stress. The thing about even what I learned about psychology or psychologists is they're paid by the insurance companies. So they almost, if they don't, and Brian will speak more to this, if they don't diagnose you, they don't get paid. So think about that. If they don't diagnose you, they're not going to get paid. So usually you get a diagnosis, and he'll talk more about it, for like 6 months, but then they have to either come up with they're cured or some other situational diagnosis, something like that. So imagine that. And that's the law system too. I mean, the law system can go on and on and on because of that way of thinking. I see most issues that, because I have my law head on, but it's mostly a relationship issue. It's not even a legal issue. We've just, as family lawyers, been able to fit all these relationship issues into legal issues. He talks our daughter into somehow wanting to change schools, and now I hardly ever see her.
She's always telling the story. Oh, I have the kids all the time. He doesn't do anything.
These kids are being used as pawns.
That bike is sexy. Growing up, I was living a lie. In the darkness, I was scared of the light. With no direction, I was running away. I tried to cover that I'm losing my mind. Beginning, it's a new way of life. Another chapter, why not give it a try? This hopeful journey needs an open mind to discover the treasure inside. Never see the truth until you look past the lies. Mother Nature is waiting for you to arrive. Step outside, step outside, enjoy the ride. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do, 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 do.
So Michelle is going to leave us with the Family Innocence theme song. We know it's going to be catching on everywhere. So take it away, Michelle.
And I won't have my husband Tom sing with me this time.
Or me.
You guys are all blessed.
Okay. Camera. Start spreading the bird, beginning today. We want to be no part of it, the family court. The bird is the word. It's flying away to make a brand new start of it. No family court. We want to wake up in a household where we can sleep instead of fearing a judge ready to peep. These family court blows are melting away. We will get to the heart of it with no delay. If we can do it here, we'll do it everywhere. No family court, no family court. One more line. If it is not a crime, we are not doing time in family court. No